The biggest mistake junior designers make is that the moment a project starts, they will open up Figma and try to mock up wireframes. This is a wrong approach and it will waste a lot of your time and effort, especially if you don't have a good understanding of what the project is about. In this video, I will share a better way, one that I personally use, on how to start a new UX project. So before starting a project, you want to sit down with the client and understand the basic requirements that will help you form the scope for this project. You essentially want to understand 4 segments. 1. The client's business. 2. The users, especially from a client's perspective. 3. The market in which the client is operating in. And 4. The problem or opportunity that this project is about. These 4 segments will help you get a general understanding of the project. It will help you understand what the client's business is about, why they started it. It will give you an understanding of how the client perceives their own users, and which you can then validate later. You will also understand the client's position in the market, and you will find out what the problem is that the client is trying to solve for. Usually this is done in an in-person meeting, or it can even be done over a virtual call. This is what we call a kickoff meeting. Let's dive into each segment and talk more about what specifically you should ask the client about in order to get a good understanding of that segment. Let's take an example of Flipkart as our client, and they have come to us because they want to launch an app in the instant delivery space. So first you want to understand the client's business. This essentially means you want to dive deeper into why the client started their business, what is their mission, what is their vision statement, what is the core problem that they're solving with their products. The answers to these questions will help you define your design solutions down the line. So for instance, some example questions that you can ask the client is: when did you start your business? Why did you start your business? Which are your best selling products? Who are your top competitors? You can also ask the client to describe their brand in 3 to 5 adjectives, and this will give you a good understanding of how they perceive their own brand, and it will help you define your design decisions in this project. The answers to these questions essentially will help you understand what you will be focusing on, especially if it's a large company. So for instance, Flipkart is a huge company, but they only want us to focus on the new instant delivery service that they plan to offer to their users. Then you want to understand what the client thinks about their users. Essentially, you want to understand who their users are, their demographic, how the client sees their users, what problems have the client identified about their users, have they conducted user research or not. You want to ask the client all of this so that they will give you the information that they have, which you can use further in your design process while conducting design research. A few questions you can ask the client is: what is the average user demographic? What is their lifestyle like? What are the pain points that they are facing? How are the users currently solving this problem today? Are they using any other apps? What are the problems that they're facing with those apps? And so on. Finally, you can ask the client if they have a list of users that you can interview or you can run usability tests with later when you have designed a few prototypes. The third segment is the market, and you want to understand how the client is positioned in the market that they are in. This will also be beneficial for your general knowledge, as later on, let's say you work for another client in the same market, you'll already have a good understanding of how the market works, and it'll help you better in that project as well. So a few questions that you can ask the client is: how large is their market? Who are their top competitors? How are they different from their competitors? What products of the competitors are the users using today? What are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats of these competitive products? What is the scope of this market and the future growth in the coming years? And finally, you can ask the client what are their aspirations on how they want to grow in this market realistically. Finally, the fourth segment is understanding the problem or opportunity that the client wants to solve for in this project. Essentially, a client already has a problem in mind, or they have an opportunity that they want to take on before the project starts. So essentially, you can ask them, what is the project about? What problem are we solving? Is there any opportunity that we are going after? What is the success metric of this project? Which basically means what metric are we measuring in order to say that this project was a success? Did you conduct any research to find out this problem? You can go deeper and ask them about things like timeline and constraints. Are there any expectations from the design team, or do they have any solutions in mind that they've already thought of and they want us to try out? Also, as a bonus, you can ask the client who you will be working with on a day-to-day basis. This is super important to find out at the beginning of a project so that you don't have to worry later when as the project goes on. Having a solid understanding of these 4 segments will help you establish the scope of the project. More importantly, it will help you understand what the client is expecting from you and what exactly they want out of this project. If you joined a project midway and it had already started, then you can ask your colleagues or you can ask the client for any documentation in which they would have documented all of the answers to these questions. You can refer to these documents, write down some notes, and if you have any follow-up questions, it's a good idea to write them in a document and share them with the client so that you have all the clarity you need before you start this project. In my ebook, I have listed all the different questions that I personally ask a client before starting a project, and I've also used a real-world example to demonstrate on how to ask these questions and what to do with the answers that you get. I hope this video gave you value, and if you want more tutorials on UX and UI design, then do consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.